Okay, everybody, welcome to the Hurdy Burke Internet Broadcast Network, and we are live from the state-of-the-art studios here in Round Rock, Texas tonight. And this is a show where we cover local Austin business every Tuesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. And tonight it's going to be me solo, Hurdy Burke, the owner of the Hurdy Burke Broadcast Network, and we're going to talk about podcasting tonight. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about how the show works. I cut off the cameras. I like to do this in radio format. So for those of you that might be viewing or coming in because you saw this on Hangouts, and you can feel free to listen in, but it's more of an outbound show. I generally just invite the public to it, and I don't open up chat because I'm doing this solo tonight, and I won't be able to keep up with it anyhow. But tonight, I'm going to educate folks a little bit about podcasting. I'm even going to give you some of the steps to get started. And by the time we're done, I'm going to give you a place to go and make you an offer if you want to seriously consider taking this to the next level. But this is a great place to start. So welcome to the Hurdy Burke Internet Broadcast Network. And as usual, I have about 8 sponsors. This is show close to 100 since we started 3 years ago. And it's been great the last year and a half, 2 years, be using Google Hangouts on air. I love this. It's a real simple way to do a show and also have it archived over on YouTube. And then, again, this is a type of podcast, right? And we're going to talk about that tonight. But let's thank a couple of our sponsors first. So Jeff Steck with TylerEricaSystems.com. That's Jeff Steck, TylerEricaSystems.com. He likes to work. He's a duct tape certified consultant. Works with larger, medium-sized, small business that is kind of bumped into a wall where they might need a little bit of help with their marketing and some tactic and some things that he uses overall to help companies. So I encourage you to go check out his website, Tyler Erica Systems, and that's his son and daughter's name run together, so that's TYLERICA, and then systems, that's one word.com. Go check out Jeff Steck. Danielle Smith is John Maxwell certified coach, guerrilla marketing coach, and I want you to go visit a very special page that he just started called StopWastingHandshakes.com. He has some giveaway videos and some worksheets. If you're one of those people that have a stack of business cards on your desk and you absolutely don't know what to do with them, with follow-up and making sure you stay connected to people for not only this year but years to come, and allow these people to help you. This is a super fantastic system to go through, and I think you'll like it. So go check out the website, StopWastingHandshakes.com. Now, I understand that generally our live show is scheduled from 7 to 8, but the very nice thing about this show is when it is over, we do have it on archive in a custom player that I dropped the URL from YouTube in. So a lot of the things I'll be talking tonight about, I will give you links to, so you can go check out these sites and start investigating podcasting. So tonight, we're going to talk a little bit. Let's think of Thank you, guys. And round 2 is coming up. I'm hoping my people that are sponsoring this show now will be back for start in October. We start another 20 shows October, the first Tuesday of October. So, guys, if you're listening in tonight, love to have you renew your sponsorship, and I'll be getting out that information tomorrow. All right, so let's talk about podcasting. So what I'm going to ask you to do tonight, because this is an education show, is you're going to need a pen and a paper. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to round that up. Pen, pad, but get some, because you're going to need it, and we're going to take some notes tonight, because if you don't, then you're going to forget everything I said, and you know what that means. If we don't write something down, it's out of sight, out of mind. But this will be a good way for you at least have the notes in front of you, and then I'm going to give you a place to go visit me right now. I have a little 3-pager website I set up directly for podcasts to read my information. It's a little 3-pager, no big deal, but go check out PodcastU, that's one word, PODCAST, the letter U, .wibbly.com. PodcastU, one word, the letter U, .wibbly.com. and I'll post that also on the archive show, so you'll have a link directly to that. So don't panic if you missed it. But podcastu.weebly.com. All right, so let's get started. So, you've been hearing this word tossed around a long time called podcasting. And podcasting, I'm going to keep this in lay terms and not technical terms. It's really any kind of audio, video file, or multimedia file that can play on the internet or can be posted on the internet. And it can be live. This is a live podcast. Technically, this is what people would call this. Then once it's archived, it becomes an on-demand podcast. So podcasting is any kind of audio, any kind of multimedia video that can be shared online. And we're going to get really specific how that can be shared and how you can gain followers and gain a subscription base to your podcast. So what is a podcast good for? Well, tips, how-tos. Maybe you feel real strong about an opinion on something. You can create your thoughts and your opinions and have people of like mind that want to follow you. If you're a coach, a pastor, if you're somebody that just has an itching to have some sort of live and archive audio files online, that's what a podcast can do for you. And we're going to talk about tonight, I'm going to keep this extremely simple. Let me repeat that. Very simple. Yes, you could go to the extreme and build out a nice studio. You could have 3 or 4 people doing live shows with you, but tonight I'm going to show you how to take a device that you carry every day and start recording messages so that you can create your own podcast, the beginnings of your own podcast platform. All right, so let's start. All right, number 1, you have an iPhone or a smartphone. That's the tool that I'm going to teach you tonight to start using to start your podcasting. Both the iPhone and the Android generally have a built-in recording app already in your phone. However, on the iPhone, you might want to go to your app store for Apple on your iPhone, and you might want to find a free MP3 recorder. On Android, you have a built-in recorder, but you might want to go find one and download it and look for one that has 5 stars. There's a ton of them. And make sure that part of that recorder you download has the ability to share or email that file when you're done recording. Okay, so step 1, your phone is going to be your recording device in order for you to be able to podcast. All right, and on your piece of paper, if you have one in front of you, I want you to write down RSS. RSS. Real Simple Syndication is what that stands for. Now I want you to ignore it. We'll get to later what that means, but that becomes an important part of why podcasting is such a cool thing. So write down RSS on your sheet of paper, and right next to that, Real Simple Syndication. That's what that stands for. And we're going to bring that into play later on in the broadcast so that you understand why that becomes an important feature. But you don't have to know anything about that in order to podcast. You just need to know it stands for Real Simple Syndication. All right? Try to keep this in lay terms and make it real easy for you. All right. So you have a smartphone and you have the iPhone, and a lot of you have used the recording device on there before, correct? And so coaches, and let's say that you don't use just the phone. Some of you I know are coaches, and you do these webinars on free conferencing or some of the webinar sites, right? And you do audio, and at the end of that show, you're able to download that show. So you want to make sure that when you do your conferencing or webinars, that you capture that recorded audio and then download it and have it on your hard drive, because they take it away after a certain amount of time. You want to make sure you get it to your hard drive. That's critical, because It's going to be an MP3 format. And by the way, MP3 is the same thing that you listen to when you go to iTunes or you go to these music sites. They're generally using a universal format called MP3. Again, not important. Just know that generally the coaches that are using webinar sites and they're doing audios where people call in and they can talk and chat with each other, that format of that recorded audio is going to be MP3. All right, so I'm going to get a little technical right here. Generally, a 2 to 3 minute recording on your phone is not a very large file. So if your little recorder on your phone, once you finish that recording, generally you can email that straight to your email. And that is going to be the first step of what you do when you record on your telephone. However, if that recording ends up being 30, 40 minutes, well, now you're talking about, well, let me just say this, an hour-long audio at about 44, whatever, high quality, is going to be about 53 megabits. Again, technical, don't worry about it. Just know that that's a large file, and it generally can't be sent back to your email. You're going to have some sort of transfer system to get that file to your computer so you can save it to your hard drive. So here's what I recommend. Both the iPhone and Android, you can download this free app. And again, I'll post these links on the custom player at the end of the show. You want to download an app called WeTransfer, one word, W-E Transfer, WeTransfer.com. WeTransfer allows you to share large files up to 2 gig, in some cases 10 gig. It's free, no big deal. And then you can share a larger file that's limited, because these email sites aren't going to allow you to send too large a file, or it just won't go. So you can use this system to transfer those audio files to your hard drive, and that would be something like for a coach that does a webinar, right, on free conferencing or something like that. So when that show's over and they want to download that file to their computer, I'm sure that's built into the conferencing, but you're going to need that WeTransfer. If they don't, then you're going to need a way to file transfer that back to your computer. And you want to make sure that anytime you record something, if it's a short message on your iPhone or a short message on your Android, you want to make sure you immediately send that recording to your email so you can download it to your hard drive, because you're going to have to upload that eventually to a host site where your podcast is going to reside. Okay, so that's step one. Make sure you have an MP3 recorder on your iPhone and on your smartphone. That's your first step. Step two, go ahead and download the WeTransfer app from the Apple Store and the Google Play Store. It's free. And by the way, if you ever shoot video, it's a great way to transfer that, because WeTransfer can send that to your email, gives you a download link, and then you can download the video to your hard drive. So that way, you'll have an easy way to get it to your hard drive. So WeTransfer is a great application. All right, now, in order for a podcast to be extremely successful, in the sense of putting it in the right place so that you can create a following and subscribers, which we're going to get into a little bit in the show, you're going to have to host those audio files on a server or on a host site that's geared toward giving you a place to reside your audio files. All right, now there's several, but to keep it real simple tonight, Libsyn is one of them. I'll put that link up. It's a little bit more pricey, and so for beginners, I'm going to recommend that you go check out and write this down, Podcast Garden, one word, podcastgarden.com. I've had several clients on this. It seems to be a great site. It's really cool. I think you can sign up for $2.99 a month or $12 for the whole year, unlimited uploads. It's perfect. And so understand that you have to have a podcast host site so that you can get that thing I mentioned at the top. Remember RSS? You need to have your podcast set up, and it's going to issue you an RSS feed on the Podcast Garden site. Okay, so podcastgarden.com. Now, Podcast Garden is just like a social network in the sense that you're going to go and you're going to create a profile. You're going to sign up, you're going to give them a credit card, you're going to pay the $12 or $2.99 a month, whatever, and you're going to go through and fill out all your information, email, phone number, just like you do when you sign up for a social site. The difference is once you get through the first phase on Podcast Garden, then it's going to get into asking you a little bit about what do you want to name your show. It's going to ask you, give you a title of the show, the author, the description of the show, and this is where you need to sit down and think this out. You want your title of your show to be catchy, right? So you need to think this out, because once you name the title of that show, you can't go up and change it, because all your podcasts are going to be related to that show. You'd have to create another show and set up another profile. So you want to be really careful on the front end about making sure that you title that show. It's catchy. I recommend you go out to the internet. If you have an interest or a hobby or a tip, go out and search and see how people are searching for that type of tip, and then kind of come up with your own creative name for your podcast, okay? But the next step in filling out that profile, which is really simple, is you're going to have a title of your show. You're going to make sure you name yourself as the author, and you're going to need to put up a description of what this show is going to be about or what the tips you're going to issue. All right, so that in itself is relatively simple. Again, at the end of the show, I'm going to give you guys an offer and show you a way that I can help you out with this. All right, so you've got a smartphone, iPhone, you've got a recorder. You also are going to download WeTransfer.com, right, for transferring larger files if they're over 2 to 3 minutes, or if they're bigger than, say, 1 megabyte, okay, or 10 meg email or something handle. So you got to be really careful about the size of your show. All right, you need the host site for those audio files. There's several. If you want to go out and shop podcast platforms, you can type that in Google search, and there'll be a ton of them come up. Some are really free. Be careful of the absolute free ones, because sometimes they don't give you all the tools you need. So I'm recommending for beginners, just go set up a single show on podcastgarden.com. All right, go through the bouncing ball. All right, now you record. You've built your profile on podcastgarden.com. You've uploaded a title for the show. You have to add a graphic to that, and I'll explain why later in the show, why you're going to want to have a graphic, and I'm going to explain, because a lot of people that podcast want to have that podcast up on iTunes. All right, we're going to talk about that a little bit right now. So, iTunes is not a hosting site. I think a lot of people get confused that iTunes is not a hosting site. It is a directory. And so in order for your podcast to get to iTunes, there's a few things that iTunes requires. But if you have your podcastgarden.com, that's a hosting site set up correctly, once we've uploaded a single show, it's going to create that RSS. So let's go back and talk about RSS. RSS. How many of you listening tonight subscribe to somebody's blog, or to somebody's news feed, or to somebody's tips, or maybe you even go to iTunes and you have a couple of subscriptions to some podcasts you follow that are related to your industry? That's all you need to know about RSS. So what happens, and how do I get myself up on iTunes? All right. On your podcast, once you have created your Podcast Garden channel, the first thing you're going to need to do is create a 1400 by 1400 banner. So go ahead and write this down, because this is, if you don't get this, you're never going to get to iTunes, okay? iTunes requires a 1400 by 1400 banner. Go to Fiverr if you want, Fiverr.com. They can create one to $5 to $10. or if you're savvy enough to create your own graphics, just make sure it's 1400 by 1400, because when you go to Podcast Garden and it asks you to upload an image on your profile, you're going to upload that image, which will be the ones that we use to go to iTunes. All right, so let's go back. You've got a smartphone or an iPhone. You're going to record a 2 to 3 minute tip. Then you're going to email that little short clip to your email address. Once you go to and open it up on your email, you're going to download that file to your computer on your hard drive, name it in a folder, call it your podcast folder, name of the show folder, whatever you've titled your show, and you're going to move that audio file into that folder. I highly recommend that you title that like Show 1 or name of the title of the show, Podcast 1, and then when you upload it, you can get rid of that part of it. But you want to make sure that not every single show is the same title, or people will think that it's all the same show, and that might be a little confusing. So what you're going to do is record on your phone. You're going to immediately click the share button by that recording on your phone. You're going to email it to yourself. You're going to open it up and download it to your hard drive on your computer. You're going to create a folder, and you're going to put that in that folder. That's the first requirement. Once you've set up your Podcast Garden profile, you've gotten your credit card out, you paid that $12 or $2.99 a month, you've created your profile, you have a name of a show, then you're going to go log in to that podcastgarden.com, and it's going to give you a browse button to browse and upload that audio file. When you upload your very first audio file to that show, it's going to issue you an RSS feed, which is real easy to find because it's going to be right below. When you upload that, it's going to give you 3 feeds. One links to Facebook and links to Twitter. If you stopped right there and didn't want to go to iTunes, you've got a podcast platform started, and you have an RSS feed. It says RSS in the front. It's real simple. You can paste that anywhere, and that allows people to subscribe and follow your podcast. So if you went nowhere else but the Podcast Garden and you didn't want to be on iTunes, you have completed the beginnings of your podcast platform. But here's the beauty of that. That is a permanent link. So the next time you record, send it to your email, download it to your hard drive, go to your podcastgarden.com, log in, upload. That show gets automatically put under that show title, and it automatically becomes a part of that feed. You don't have to do anything but send that link back out, and now people that are subscribed to you will also get a link to that, will also be alerted when a new podcast is uploaded to your Podcast Garden. However, everybody, and I mean everybody, wants to be a part of iTunes, and a great place because people go there and search for podcasts, and there's lots of them. So you're going to have to build your subscriber list by giving them the feed and the links and get people interested in your podcast tips and platform. There is some marketing involved, but let's get it on iTunes, okay? And let's go to the next step here and talk a little bit about how iTunes works, all right? For those of you that have your iPods and you're listening to a lot of music from iTunes you download, you already know, but you may not know this. If you have a PC or if you have a Mac computer, you're going to need to go to iTunes.com and download the iTunes Store. Just go download it to your PC. That is your first step, or to your Mac. And I guess it might, because you have to create, you're just going to have to download it to your computer, all right? So hopefully you got your notepad out. When you get to iTunes downloads, you're going to sign up and get what they call an Apple ID, which is generally an email, and you're going to create a password, right? And when you get on iTunes and you create your Apple ID and your password, that is how you're going to get into iTunes. on the iTunes interface, once you open it up, you'll see in the right-hand corner, iTunes Store, iTunes Store. You'll click it. If you're not logged in, it's going to ask you there for your Apple ID, which is generally your email and your password. So you log in, and another page opens. And on that page is, you will see a tab at the top. And the tab at the top is going to have music, movies, TV shows, Apple Store or App Store, books, podcasts, and iTunes U. What you're going to do is you're going to go up and click on the Podcast tab. Another page is going to open up, and you're going to see, first of all, a lot of podcasts. You're going to see business, you're just going to see a whole page full of podcasts, and there's tons more. Over on the right-hand side of that iTunes page, you will see Submit a Podcast. All right. So you've got Podcast Garden set up. You've uploaded a single MP3 audio file. It's issued you. It says everything was correct and successful. You've gotten your 1400 by 1400 graphic loaded up on the Podcast Garden site. And now you want to start, you want to upload your RSS feed link to iTunes. So when you click on Submit a Podcast on the iTunes interface, a page will come up. And it will give you, it'll talk a little bit on it, but there's going to be this blank box, and it's going to say Submit RSS Feed URL. You simply copy the one on Podcast Garden, and you enter it into that box, and you submit. And then a message will come from Apple saying, hey, you know, we're going to approve this. And by the way, Apple wants to know what kind of content this is, and you need to click clean, because if you put adult or anything else, it might not be approved. So it's clean content, hopefully. That's what I'm advocating you do. So clean content's what you need to click, and then iTunes is going to send you a message and say, we've gotten your submission for your podcast. We're in process. This will be approved in 24 to 48 hours. So you're going to sit and wait for about 24 to 48 hours. And then go back and you're going to get an alert from Apple saying it's been approved and your podcast is now part of the iTunes directory. So let's talk about those simple steps. Let's kind of go back through them because repetition learning, right? RSS at the top of your paper that you wrote is called Real Simple Syndication. Real Simple Syndication is exactly what it is. You've created your own way for people to follow you, to subscribe to you, to listen to this on your mobile devices, your PCs, just about anything that plays media and that is connected to the internet, right? So you've now created a way for people to follow you. And by the way, as you continue to upload your your MP3 audio files to your Podcast Garden host site, every time you upload one, it's automatic. It automatically goes over and is put on the iTunes channel, so you don't have to do anything else at that point except get it to your Podcast Garden host site or whatever host site you've chosen for your podcast. And then everybody that subscribes to you will be alerted that there's a new piece of content, and it will alert them so they can listen in. So the beauty of the marketing of having a podcast is it really does kind of break through a noisy marketing world, right? It gives you a chance to put your expertise out there in front of people, gives you a chance to give them tips, gives them a chance to share your opinions if it's strongly about something, or you might even create your own little comic show. You can do all sorts of things with podcasts. Now, I will tell you on Podcast Garden, it'll give you an option between having a video podcast show or audio. You want to make sure you click audio for the beginners. The video thing can come later. So that is basically some of the steps that's required to get you started. I think I've shared with you pretty much some of the basics of this, and I do understand that some people are tech savvy and get this, and then there's other people that probably by now they might be a little lost. So we're just going to continue to review the process that one can go through to get started simply. Don't worry about a big studio. Use your iPhone or your smartphone. Download an MP3 recording device. Make sure that that recording app that you download to your phone has the ability to share that recording. And so you're going to record on your phone. It automatically saves it on your phone. You're going to then share it back to your email account. You're going to go to your email. If you're on a PC or you have a hard drive, you're going to download that. You're going to open it up and download it to your hard drive. You're going to put it in a folder, label that folder for your show. That way you won't lose it. You won't be searching for it all over your computer, right? Just always create a folder and label stuff. That's the simplest way to stay organized. If you wait and do it down the road after you have 10 podcasts, you'll start getting really confused. So the simple thing is do it right the first time. So now that it's on your hard drive, you're then going to go to your host site where you're going to upload your MP3 audio file or your little podcast, right? And you're going to go to podcastgarden.com if that's the one you choose to use. They're all very much the same. This one's just very cheap and a great way to get started, and it works really well. You're going to upload your audio file under your show, and then you're going to, if you've already got the iTunes set up, it's going to automatically add it to that directory. And so all you have to do from once you have everything built and set up is just keep uploading your audio files, name those audio files, what the tip's about or what the show's about underneath your show. Because these are little, I describe them as little subtitle titles. So you have a main show, meaning a main title to what your podcast channel's about, but underneath it you can label exactly what the name of the show is, and you can put a description of that under each and every upload that you put on your host site, right? So people can get an idea or description of that little tip or show. All right. These podcasts can be short, they can be long. I recommend to start is think about the power of the phone you have in your hand. Imagine that you're a coach or pastor or somebody that goes out maybe and interviews people and wants to build a following or wants to talk to other people. Well, heck, just get with somebody and do a recording, ask questions, record that. Then when you get home, download it, listen to it, and upload it to your podcast host site, and then start that following. So you can use that phone any way you want. I know people that record on their phone. They're writing a book, so every time they have a thought about a title of a book or whatever, they record on their phone, they go down and download it and put it in a folder so they can remember what they were talking about. So that recording device is super to get started. And that's really all podcasting is. Doesn't have to be live like this show is tonight. It can literally be an archive that's on demand, which is really what it is. It's an RSS feed, right? So people can listen to it at their own convenience. They can listen to it in their car driving to work, on their cell phone. They can listen to it on their computer. But you're building a following. Title of the show, super important in that you come up with a good title for your show and that your shows underneath that title are consistent with what the title is about. And so, a little short tonight, like 30 minutes of me, right? But I have a solution for those of you that really want to get started, and that is this. I realize that some people don't have time to mess with it. They have time to do the recording because I don't do that for you. But if you're a person that has a message, has something to say, and wants to get that message out, and you want to gain a following, and you want to give tips or how-tos, or if you want to make sure that all your webinars and conferencing you're doing somehow get put up there for archive to draw an audience back into your platform, we call it pulling, right? You push out, then but you let the platform pull back in the people that are interested in your show, right? So this is a great way, super way to get started really simply. But here's the deal. Go to my little 3-page site. No big deal. I built it like overnight. I just put up podcastu, podcastu.weebly.com. Go check it out. There's a contact form on the last page of the site. And if you listen to this archive show, which is where most of the listeners are going to come, and you're really interested in getting started on this, but you need some help, I generally, to make sure that all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed, I generally charge close to $900 to build out the platform and to stair-step you through the training and teach you how to use it. And so if you listen to the show and you go, well, this is great, Herdy, but I'm still confused and I need some help, I have a $400 discount for somebody that really wants to get started. And if you really want me to work with you on this, I can do this local here in Austin. I can do this over the internet with somebody via phone. I can do it through Google Hangouts. I mean, it doesn't matter where you're located. I can help you with this. Go to my contact page and type in radio show podcast in the contact form, and I'll know that that's how you were listening to the show and you're interested. And in the body of it, just say, hey, I really need help with this. I'm really excited about started, and I really want to take advantage of the discount. And boy, once we get you into the process, get you settled through the process, get you on the process, and get you where you feel comfortable with it, then if that's a one-time fee to get this all built out and started. And then as you learn, you can, as you go, you can learn, but you'll have enough of the tools to understand the whole process. All right, so I covered quite a bit of information tonight, tried to make it simple, but the bottom line is you want to make sure that you're recording on your phone. You want to make sure there's a way to share that from your phone to your email. You want to make sure that you save the MP3 file in a folder so you don't lose it, right? And then you're only going to have one small fee, and that is for your podcast host site. There's several of them. Lipsum's one. There's a lot of others. Podbean. I like Podcast Garden because it's a good place for beginners. It's like $12 a year, I think, or $2.99 a month. It's pretty much unlimited uploads. You can and but also going to give you I'm going to send you an RSS link to where all my shows go to give you an idea what that looks like. So you'll get that tonight. So this has been the Herdy Burke Internet Broadcast Network tonight, and I just want to give you guys a very quick overrun of how to do a podcast. The next time I do this, I'm going to have screenshots and everything. I just really want to talk about this tonight, and the reason is I've had a lot of people ask me about this, and I said, maybe I should just get on and talk about it. I don't expect that you're going to completely get it tonight, but again, go to podcastu, P-O-D-C-A-S-T, the letter U, contact page is third page, just put radio show podcast. I don't know what that means. Fill in that you heard the show. There's a $400 discount, so what is that? $960 minus $400 is going to be like $560, and you're totally done and built out. We'll get this all done and get you on your way, and you can start doing what I'm doing here every Tuesday night, but you can use your phone to get started. Hey, this has been the Herdy Burke Internet Broadcast Network, and I do want to thank our sponsors, which will which on my custom player I put out are all linked to their website. So when I miss them on the show, they get the benefit of when this is shared out, that people can click on the show sponsors and go directly to your website. I also would like to invite you, if you want to follow me on Facebook, Hurdie Burke Consulting, and my name is spelled Hurdie. Last name is Burke, B-U-R-K, Consulting. So those 3 words will get you to my Facebook business page. I post my shows there. But if you're on Facebook and you want to join my broadcast group, it's Hurdie Burke Broadcast Network. So it's my name, Hurdie, B-U-R-K, Broadcast Network. If you go and join, I'll accept you, and then every show I do is automatically, I put it up on Facebook so you can keep up with the shows we do here in Google Hangouts. So again, what I'm doing tonight would be considered Hangouts on the Air, but it's really a podcast, because when it's over, it's going to be uploaded and it's going to be put on an RSS feed. I will share that on the custom player so you guys can see how that looks. Again, if you have questions, just know this is a great tool. Oh my gosh, some of you talk all the time about ideas and opinions. For instance, some of you, some of you may have pet tips. Some of you may have tips about how to clean, or how to make your house green, or you might be an expert in some field or genre, coach, referral networks, niche networking. One of my friends, Scott Carley, is. Danny, Stop Wasting Handshakes, already has his podcasting up on iTunes. He has 2 podcast channels on iTunes that we've built out for him. So the deal is, be thinking. Come up with a creative title, step outside your comfort zone, and be open to trying something new, because really it's really fun. And once you get the hang of it and realize, man, for a very small fee, I can jump out there and post these things to my social networks and get a following. And you know what? I had people come up to me and say, man, I've only had 300 people look at my podcast platform. And I go, really? And I go, the next time you're in one of your network groups, or you're in a place and you see maybe 50 people, imagine what 300 people would be like in that room. And understand that when you start something, you have to help yourself find subscribers and get people to join. So, don't let something starting out slow be a deterrent. It takes time to build a following, and so you have nothing but time. Come up with some great tips. I'll tell you right now, politics, there's people out there that have strong opinions. Well, create your own podcast platform. Put your opinions out there if you feel like you're ready to get, have some debates with people, if that's what you want to do. Hey, if you're somebody that knows how to put model airplanes together and you have tips, do that. If you're somebody that works on train sets and wants to talk about a hobby in trains, or maybe you have hobbies about landscaping, or maybe anybody's a candidate to do a podcast online. All right? So you guys have a great evening. This has been the Hurdie Burke Internet Broadcast Network. I'll put this on archive pretty soon. I really hope I explained it somewhat well. I've tried to do repetition learning, but if you get stuck, go to my podcastu.weebly.com, and podcast has the letter U. It's one word. And just send me a message on my contact page. I'll be happy to help you. And remember, take advantage of that discount, because that's $400 off if you listen to this show, and we can get this all built out and get you going. Have a great evening. Thank you for listening to Hurdie Burke Internet Broadcast Network. Next week, I have a sales trainer on, and looking forward to interviewing him, and he'll be in next week. We're here every Tuesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. Tonight, I'm going short because I don't want to bore y'all with more information than you needed. But just remember, it's a process, and it is a way to get a message out in a very noisy marketing world. Good night, everybody. See you around the corner next Tuesday night. Good night.